Social media is a disaster for democracy.
Oh.
And we would be much better off if the whole lot could be shut down.
Oh, William.
I know that.
Listen to this smug approach.
That it brings there are many benefits to it, but it could be organised in a different way if it can't be shut down.
It could be organised in a different way if it can't be shut down. Because you can't have a way of people within a free democracy speaking to each other because they're children or they're imbeciles. They're uninformed. They're not like us.
At the moment, the uninformed, ignorant, instant opinion is ranked equally alongside a considered opinion. Or
I'm going to guess that William thinks his opinion is the considered opinion.
Debated opinion. And that's deeply unhealthy for democracy.
If we're going to have more than one opinion, and it's not William's, that would be deeply, deeply, deeply dangerous to democracy. Can you imagine?
There'll be even more of that if Donald Trump is back on Twitter in the light of this.
Donald Trump hasn't been president for over a year. As a sitting president, he was banned from using a public platform. But no, he has to virtue signal against Donald Trump because that's what the Uniparty does. This is globalism.
And I would like to see very radical global regulation. It's very hard to do.
Global regulation, clearly. Probably the most memorable thing that he ever did was go to Alton Towers with a baseball cap on.
Social media, where you can see the original source of any information, including.
Nobody's saying that having sources isn't a good thing. And if people don't provide sources, then you obviously allocate the appropriate amount of credibility to it. What's the problem with that?
If it came from Russia, for instance.
Oh, good Lord. Could you imagine if it came from Russia? Russia was always a problem when it was Trump involved. It wasn't anything to do with the Clintons.
The algorithms they choose for news feeds are transparent and...
I think he means the news that you choose to report.
And published, where you have to have a cooling off period before you can respond.
So in other words, we can say what we want. The news cycle is allowed to continue. You can't say anything because you're not as good as me. Well, we're all equal, but some animals are more equal than others.
To anything on Twitter, and where the posts on social media don't have a maximum size, they should have a minimum size, so that you have to explain your argument. And
can you even breathe for the smug in this interview?
If we did all that, we'd have a healthier democracy, and Twitter, I admit, would only be worth about what 1/10 of what it is.
Well, listen, there's a lot of...
He takes the risk that somebody like me will come along and regulate it properly.
Who is somebody like you? Who regulates the media properly? Who shuts people up? Who won't discuss anything with the populace because they know best? What sort of person, what sort of politician would you associate with that?
Now, there's a lot of truth in what you say. However, if it's such a disaster for democracy, why are you on Twitter?
Well, I only use it.
I know you don't reply to anyone. I've been looking. You just post your amazing columns.
I just put out my the title of my Times column. I did.
So he just broadcasts. He's a modern day politician. He says what's right. He dictates what the truth is, who's allowed to report on it, who's allowed to comment on the reporting of it. And if he had his way, it'd be an awful lot more regulated.
Did use it in its early days as when I was Foreign Secretary to actually answer people's questions.
Oh, great. I can't remember that. Can you remember that as a British citizen? Him asking questions, what do you think about British foreign policy? Do you think we should be taking in more immigrants? Are those sort of questions?
Around the world. Now that is I thought that was a constructive use of social media, that somebody in the middle of India could ask me a question live.
Oh, right, sorry. I thought you meant you people that voted for you.
For the British Foreign Secretary. And I did regular sessions like that. Now that is using social media to extend debate.
You're happy to debate with some rando from India as the British Foreign Secretary. I don't know quite what that achieves, but okay, good use of your time. But you won't speak to your electorate.
But usually it is used just to assert something that may or may not be true.
Well, like broadcasting on the radio at an interview.
And that's why it needs reform. Trouble is, which government's going to reform it? Unless the United States led the way in doing this, of course, the rest of the world can't really do it.
Yeah. problem in that, isn't it?
Kezzy, do you hate yourself when you're on Twitter? I kind of. If someone closed down Twitter, I think my life would get better. I
Hate
think.
yourself.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because when you suddenly say, I like Dorothy Sayers,
Yeah.
you'll find loads of people saying, I really like Dorothy Sayers, and that's really nice.
But less of people who tweet photographs of a pile of 10 books and say, yeah, I read them last week. They're annoying.
They are annoying.
This is everything wrong with the Conservative Party, British politics, and the media.